ruling. Was not really in place to mobilize the administration, so they have to come with indirect rule. Indirect rule. What's indirect rule? Put people in a place, be ruling them directly. And indirect rule was therefore the earliest form of local government in Nigeria. It is now noticed to look at the mechanism of this system, how it was applied, vary from parts of the country. Then in the simple term, indirect rule means ruling through an intermediary. No, they rule through some intermediary. You've been at the top. Somebody's ruling. You give that person power to rule. Why the white men were at the bottom? They were using us to rule, but they were giving us instruction. You know, just like the time of military rule. What is Supreme Military Council? The governors in each of the states have no power of their own. They made the Supreme Military Council. They are there. They give them instruction to do what they want to do. Then the colonial power, it was therefore a principle that emphasized that colonial power should rule their subject or the native through their own traditional institution, rather than using the other method of institution and value. The role of the chief and the indigenous political institution is therefore emphasized directly intervention in local affairs and governance, or the governors required, and the governances required. What I'm trying to say that they now decide to use the rule. They try to modernize the local government rules and try to use them to rule themselves, but taking instruction from the white men. The British form an indirect rule require that traditional chiefs authority rule their people on behalf of the British, and the chiefs were to act like front intermediary, enlisted by the British to enable them govern. You know, the chiefs were now enlisted by the British and tell them what to do as intermediary. To enable the British now govern us. You know, so whatever the British says is what they do. But they are there. They call them the chief, the authority, but their power was not there. The power, instruction, everything comes from the British officers. And the British officers were then in the background, ruling through the chiefs. You see, they were in the back. They just at the background, but they were ruling the chiefs. It's not like what is happening today now in APC. Tinubu now give instruction to governors on what to do. Governors don't have what to say now. They give them instruction on what to do. They don't have what to say. They are taking instruction from Tinubu. Whatever Tinubu said, that's what the governor will do. Now he want to turn the country to one-party system, just like what was happening in the Grand Master. Where the British, we are the bottom, giving the officers what to do. While the chiefs rule as independent of this officer, the resident issues of the orders, while the traditional rulers, in obedience, issued instruction to their subordinate officer, not as the orders of British, but as their own. And the system required a strong chief. You see, indirect rule, the system required a very strong chief. Because if the chief is not bold enough, people will not take instruction from him. That's what I thought, we are not doing it. We want to see the white man, let the white man come and give us instruction. So they needed a very strong chief, very stubborn, radical to the core, that can do and undo, whether they like it or not. they will be subject to him. They take instruction from him. The white man started to look for a very strong chief. Then tax administrators, a legal tax administrator system. You see, the legal tax system that they don't have to tax the people. These things were not really in place during the national during the national rule, so they were ruling their people. There were no tax system in place, and also came in with legal system in time of the society there where strong chiefs and interpreters systems. They came with a legal system so that the strong chief now in charge of the tax. If you fail to pay tax, they take to the dictionary, they use legal system on you. And the next thing is that they jail you, paralyze you, or give you some stroke of the cane, and ask you to go back. The next day, nobody will tell you to pay tax. You'll be forced to pay a tax. And the strategy was first the preservation of existing traditional authorities, institutions of government. You see, the strategy we're using was to preserve the preservation of the existing traditional authority, institution of the government, in a way that to treat them. They came and modified the system to treat themselves. They modified the way. So like what is happening in those states now. Once you are found involved in any court activities, they destroy your house. The government take up land. The government found that because of the instant harassment, courts here and there, they came out with a system and modified that law. Before, what you know that before, once you are caught, you are sent to jail. But now, that's what it is. You will lose the house and lose your land. So the rulers, the what make him modified the system, you know, to preserve the existing national authorities and institutions of the government. We didn't come to destroy your system. We didn't come to destroy local governments, but only came to modify it. You know, just like this online now. Before what we were having a satellite campus. Howard Polytechnic having a satellite campus in Benin, but now it's no longer now. They modified it now to come an online program. You can be in your house and receiving lectures. No longer saying we have Howard Polytechnic, this satellite campus, about satellite campus. No. They modified it now. That's what the white men did to modify the existing traditional system to suit their own purpose. Secondly, delegation of power to those authorities to implement decision, adjudicate cases, collectors. One thing they give those chief power. They gave them power. That power, you know, to them to implement decisions given to them by the workmen and adjudicate cases and collectors. Power to collectors, power to enforce tax, and power to adjudicate, bring you before the court. You fail to pay your tax. They gave them power to adjudicate. Why the white men were there, but they gave this chief power. And the chief was it must be a very strong chief. They're looking at his face. You just have to cooperate. And secondly, those considered to be favorable to colonial administrations and interests, such as the introduction of tax and treasury. You know, this one they now introduce tax and treasury. If you collect the tax, you pay into treasury. So you that collect the tax, you have no right, you have no access over the money. There's already a treasury. But this all these things I'm saying, we are not in existence before the arrival of the British. And the colonial government appointed residents appointed resident in charge of the province. They now appoint a chief. Each province, they have a resident, they have a resident to be in charge of that province. The Kula master now in charge, and they coordinate the various local administration, communicate decisions of the colonial government, and support the local chief in their administration, maintenance of laws and order. You see, and there were also divisional officers who oversee native administration within their divisions. Any question? Hello?
No problem. No question. Go ahead, sir. Thank you, sir.
No question. Okay. Why was indirect rule introduced? Why was it introduced? Because the white men felt shortage of officers, colonial officers. The colonial officers cannot be everywhere. Like in Edo State, where we have 18 local government. And inside 18 local government, some local government has 18 ward, some 40 wards, some 45 wards. And each of these wards is made up of almost 5 or 2 villages. Like my own place now, Igbanke, we have Igbanke East. Igbanke East is ward 11, made up of 6 clans, 6 villages. So if you look at the villages, in all the villages, I'm not even though they imported, if the white men try to import 1,000 white men, they can't even rule now. If they let them import 10,000 white, they can't rule this country because Nigeria is vast in territory. So what they have to do, because shortage of an officer, then it was even cheaper. Shortage of financial resources, because they didn't have the financial resources to implement, because appointing the colonial master, not these villages, you must provide them with cars, provide them with quarters, equip their place, furnish their house, make them live comfortable. Now this were money. The colonial masters have no money for such things. But one, he succeeded in Asia and East Africa, so why not Nigeria? They tested it in Asia and East Africa. So they feel after I succeed, they also succeed Nigeria. Because they tested it. Why did it succeed in Asia and East Africa? They said no. Because those one could not resist them. They didn't have the manpower to resist. So they gave up. And I said, let's come to Nigeria. Nigeria actually didn't have the manpower to resist. They gave up. There's a country in Africa whose country is this? Is it not Portugal? They resisted the white men. It was 1-to-1. They could not colonize them because they resisted them. And when they found that the resistance was too much, they had to flee for their dear life. But Nigeria was not like that, because the Northern were almost competing with them. The Igbos has no traditional rulers. Somebody to say this is my grandpa. The Yorubas, everything is based on the traditional council. Again, what I'm saying is the reason why they give why they introduce indirect rule. Again, language barrier. They don't understand languages. The chief they pick must be those who can speak language. Who can talk, who can speak language, who can speak English, maybe broken. They interpret to the white men their problems. Because what I find that they have barrier languages. And the only way to rule is to get someone to understand that language. So that's why we are going for campaign. We are going to campaign. You start speaking English. Fine. But the problem is that all those who came for campaign, we are the campaign fit. 80% does not understand English. They are elderly men and women. So you must get somebody who understands that with you. You find like religious fathers, Apostle Suleiman, now, if he's going to Yoruba land to preach, or Ghana, or French, he must look for somebody who understands that language. As he's preaching, the other was interpreting. So that was what he did. Because of language of barriers, they have to get somebody. The existing traditional political arrangement favored it and preserved this, and the preserving this did not jeopardize the British colonial interest. The system they meant on ground was palatable. It favored them very well. So it did not find actually the system, the existing national political arrangement favored it, but preserving this did not jeopardize the British colonial interest. Again, F, willingness of the British to tamper with existing political system. One thing too, they were able to tamper with the existing political system. They said that they introduced direct officers to man to tell the people what to do. Again, and the area over which the colonial rule had been established was quite large in terms of land area. In the face of poor communication system, direct administration was not visible. You see, the communication system was not really visible because most of our fathers those days they don't understand. They don't understand Oyibo. They don't understand English, and the white men too could not speak their language. So they needed somebody to interpret the language, and the person who interpret the language, how vast is in English language. The white man said this, he will go and solve that. If what this time that one kuku, the white man will say, Kuku, tell them, I have decided to give them water. Kuku said the white man could go to the pocket. The white man said go to bring pocket for them to go to river and fetch water. But that was what man said. So there were problem in communication, gap, poor communication system, and direct administration was not feasible. And most of the people had just been subdued, and they were subdued. One, it helped to reduce. Again, it helped to reduce administration costs. Indirectly, will help to reduce administration costs. It also indication. It was an indication goodwill to both traditional rulers and the British rulers. Language problems and barriers. Necessitated the establishment of council of administration that was not directly in contact with the majority of the population. If peace and order were to be maintained, you see, everything the work we are doing, one, it was not to the concept of the people. The people do not understand them. People don't know what they are talking about. But for peace and order to reign, they are not option than to obey. Because if to obey, they can use the carrot system on them. They don't have the resist. Like Portuguese, who were able to resist the white people. They dominated them. They didn't have whatever I've said so far. These are the reasons why Nitro was introduced. I don't know if you have a question to ask. Hello?
No problem, sir. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, no question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll look at indirect rule in the north. The traditional political system of most parts of the northern province made it flexible to introduce indirect through system. This was particularly the case where the emirate system exists. And the emirate system had a central political organization with clear cut hierarchical flow of authority, with the emir and the apex under emir were officials appointed by him to take charge of various functions and activities. What I'm saying that works very well in the north because what the white men were introduced have been existing in the north, so it was very easy. Just like this course we are running now, because how project have been running part-time, full-time, and part-time. So coming out with this online program became very easy because they run full-time, it was successful for years. They run part-time, it was successful. So what remains now is the online, which they are doing now. Almost all over the world, they run online. You can be in your house, you have your PhD online. That's why when Open University came, both your Dr. Tony, all of us were lecturer there. They started online program. But after some time, we were teaching. But after some time, it became an online program. Today now, you can run your BSc, MSc, PhD in Open University. While you're at home, we are doing online program. Somebody can just be at home one day and come and say, I'm a doctor. You say, I manage. Go sit down. Who's kind doctor? You go by, you go to school. You say, I'm a doctor. You say, no, go to school. You go bring a BSc, Open University, online. MSc, Open University, online, PhD. Oh, boy. There. So that's why you do house. That's why they do secretly. Say, but now so from today, they call me doctor. You don't finish. So that this course we are doing, all of you are doing now. So they even know running the course. But then I said they want to advise, they want to recruit people. They are bringing your OND and HND. So they say, no man, now fake it, go buy. That cause other people is technical. Where I go to school. When I say every day for me here, I decide every day for me. I take good out to Polytech. You will keep quiet. You will not consult without he said yes. He has his OND, HND online program. The man will now ask, they say they do online program. I am not aware. Register now. So that's what the system is. That system of the Northern they have all this thing in place. So it was very easy for the white men to build on it. Then secondly, they also had a well-organized system of taxation, revenue collection. This system of local government administration was also well organized. It centered on district and village heads who administered the local areas on behalf of the area. The usual system are like courts, which dealt with civil cases, secular courts that handled crime cases. So before the white men came, the Northerners, they have all these things in place. So because of this one, it became a very fertile ground for the white men to come and retain. Then Lugard, the colonial master now, retained the system with little modifications. See, he retained the system with little modifications. If you look at what our children is doing now, they started a full time, fine. When they came to part time, they modify it with little. Again, they are starting online, they also modify it with little. Because both the full time, the part time, the online, they are geared towards one thing, developing skills. Those is the name. But I'm sure the certificate will not be a full-time, part-time, or this, because I did part-time in West Benin. My BSc did not be a part-time. My BSc said BSc, local government administration. It didn't say part-time. It didn't say full-time. It was not there. It's only my exemption, they said, because of my age, I was exempted from going to NYC. Those who do full-time too, some were also exempted because of their age. So there's no way I can say I went for part-time or full-time. No. And nobody will ask you, you are out of Polytechnic. Which course did you do? Full-time? Part-time? What they want to see is your OND or HND from Auto Polytechnic. They ask you question and interview you. If they are adapting you, they write to Polytechnic to verify your result. So that's what the white men did. They made a very solid administration system on ground. So it became easier for them, became very easy for them to rule the northerner. And the indirect rule system was very successful. That's what I say, very, very successful. Not partially, very successful in the northern province due to the following reasons. The centralized system of national administration, the authority enjoyed by the emir. You see, the emir have a centralized system. What I told the emir appoint people this to map each villages in the north. And the authority enjoyed by the emir, before the emir has authority and over their subjects, and the minimize modification of the existing system of administration by the British. The existence of a well-organized system of tax collection and native treasury and unifying forces of Islamic as religion in most parts of the north help them to succeed. And overwhelming by the huge success achieved in the northern province, Lord now decided to extend the system to the western and eastern part. He didn't know that. He thought, Lugard thought everything was the same in the west and the north, because he still succeeded 100% in the north. He thought it was the same thing in the west. But let's look at it. Any question before I go to the west province? Hello? Hello?
Well, yeah, hearing you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
No,
And
no
like you
question.
said,
Okay.
even our ND and HND with certificate are exactly the same as that of morning or evening, no difference. There's nowhere written whether you did, like you said.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Sometimes you make example of what is available. Let them know what you are talking about. Following the native authority ordinance of 1960, indirect rule was introduced to the western province, especially the Yoruba speaking area. But the traditional system of administration there look similar to what obtained in the northern province. But there was centralized and well-organized political structure with the authority flowing from the Oba to the chief and to the district and village head. You see, it was okay, but it was quite different. Authority flow from the chief to the district to the village head. But although the chief had public office, but the authority was neither hereditary or based on an appointment by the Obas. The Oba did not enjoy harmonious power to that of the Emir in the northern province, because there were a lot of chiefs on their power by the chief, various groups. You see, the Emir enjoyed absolutely power, but Yoruba land, the Oba did not enjoy absolutely power. Actually, it was difficult for him to see himself as the overall. Why in the northern the Emir was overall? You see the difference? Mhm. There were a lot of check on their powers by the chief and various groups. You see, the Obas, they didn't have to because there were a lot of check on their by the chiefs and various groups. They check their power. But in the north, nobody checks their power. Emir has the authority. But in the west, they have no authority because the chief too and another group check their powers, which means they don't have absolute authority. The Oba may
Hello,
say,
sir.
go here, sir.
Yes, I tell you should round up because it's almost time for the next class. Yes, sir.
Okay, let me just stop here.
No, you can just round up.
I
Just
think
like
that's
1 or 2 minutes to round up. So you don't just
okay.
stop.
So,
Thank
okay,
you,
what
sir.
we're trying to say now is that in this indirect rule, you saw how it came in. The Northerners, how the white men came in, the problems involved while introducing direct rule. And in the North, because of the existing political system, traditional system, it worked very well in the North because the Emir had the absolute power. But in the West, it was quite different. The Oba, because Oba has a check by the chiefs and various groups who check the Oba. So eventually, in the West, indirect rule was partially succeed, not fully successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Is that okay?
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we'll look at. Is there any question?
I don't think there is. The students, any question? I don't think there is. Okay, no problem. So I
If
will
you ask
just take
question,
we'll take a short break. So at least by 7 or 7:05, we'll start again for the
okay.
next set of people.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir.
Okay, thank you, my brother.
Okay, sir.
Okay. You switch off.
No problem. You still log in again the same way that by that server.
Uh,
Okay, sir.